About to head to the gym. Let's see what we can find out on the road, if anything. And if we can't find anything, it is what it is. What we'll do is we'll go to back roads with a truck and we'll talk about why we got the truck. So it's funny because yesterday, yesterday I was supposed to go to a car meet. Usually it's classic cars, muscle cars. Every once in a while you'll see some JDM cars. A couple years ago, actually, I went to one for it was at BTR, Brian Tooley Racing. So that's a good thing about where I'm at is I have a lot of stuff nearby that essentially, if you're an LS fan, if you're into GM or anything like that, you'll enjoy it. But I have Brian Tooley Racing, probably 5 minutes down the road from me, and then I also have the Corvette Museum about an hour and a half from me. There's a few drag strips around here, probably within an hour from me. And then there's also a lot of car meets, but mostly everybody in this area has muscle cars. So what I hope to do, I know this is a second video and it has nothing to do with what the first video was about, but what I hope to do is look for people on the road and see if they have a few minutes or maybe schedule some time later to for me to interview them and essentially what's happening road work, yeah, for me to interview them and essentially be able to ask them why they got the car they got, um, what they like about the car they got, ask them if they've done any modifications, which most people have, especially people that have classic muscle cars have done modifications. Just stuff like that, just to kind of get a general idea, and then see if they'll let me at least be a passenger in the car. I don't want to, ask somebody to drive their car if they're uncomfortable with that. At least be a passenger in the car and see how the car, handles and everything on these back roads. Now, it's funny because in the I know in the video it doesn't look like these back roads are actually that windy. And right now when I'm talking about it, it's the straightaway, but there is some very windy roads back here, and they're pretty nice. I'm not gonna lie. And if you go down even further, there's even more windy roads. But I prefer staying on this road because it actually takes me where I need to go. It takes me back into town instead of out of town. So that's why I use these roads here. But it's funny because this truck, this is a Ram 1500. If you can't tell by the interior, the funny thing is about this truck, it has the 5.7 Hemi, and while the 5.7 Hemi isn't like a super powerful, engine or anything like that, the 5.7 has, or at least this 5.7. I don't know about past 5.7s. I've never been in a Charger or Challenger. Actually, no, I haven't. The Charger that I was in was the V6 one, and the Challenger that I know about also has the V6. So I've never been in a Hemi, Challenger, or Charger, but I have been in a Ram with the 5.7, and I've driven my Ram, which is a 5.7, and the funny thing about it is, for it being a 5.7, which is not the biggest engine that you can get in a Ram, or the most powerful engine you can get in a Ram, because obviously there's the TRX, the Hellcat engine, which is the 6.2 with a supercharger on it. I mean, you can't. That's absurd. So the thing is, I had a friend that had. I don't know if he still had. No, he had one. Actually, I think he went to the SRT uh, Jeep. I think that's what he got. I don't know if he got the. I think he got the Trackhawk, but I haven't talked to him in a while actually. But so he used to have a 392 Charger, and he thought that thing was amazing. And so going back to the Ram, while this is not the biggest engine, this is the first V8 that I've ever owned. It's funny because there's mostly everything out there back then was V8s, but JDM vehicles don't you do typically have, or not JDM, because JDM means they're right-hand drive or at least comes directly from Japan, and I don't have anything like that. Even my Miata is still technically a United States vehicle, a US vehicle, but I don't have a Uno's roaster. I don't have nothing like that, and So my Miata is technically not even JDM, but I've never had a V8. I've only had V6 and inline fours my entire life, and that's the funny thing about it. So, and I've also driven hybrid vehicles. The funny thing about hybrid vehicles is, depending on how they're tuned, they're pretty quick too. And I've been in a Tesla, and those things are freaking blistering. But there's no enjoyment out of it except for how fast it goes, how many G's you get from hitting that accelerator, because it's not the gas pedal. Um, so that's the funny thing about it. But this is the first V8 that I've had, and this is the first time, or I've had it a year now. This is the first time I've been able to actually say that this thing picks up and goes, because I've never owned a V8. So now every time I hit the gas pedal, it just wants to take off. And since I'm not used to it, when I first started driving it, I actually would always like, and I do this in the manual, too, the Miata, because it being a stick shift, if you torque it a little bit, usually, and it's also rear wheel drive, if you torque it a little bit, you can get the tires to spin, but without you actually having to do anything. And I mean, the Miata has 116 horsepower, so you're getting tire spin for no reason on 116 horsepower. That's not even that good. So the funny thing about it is that you end up I ended up like spinning tires for no reason all the time, and I was like, well, what the hell is going on? I know it's a V8, but it does not even have that much horsepower. It's like it's funny because I used to have a 2 liter turbo Sonata, and that thing had about the same horsepower this thing has. So probably a little bit less, but it's enough for me to say, based off the power to weight ratio, it's about the same as this, and I could handle that no problem. Well, obviously I would still have like tire spin and everything because it's a front wheel drive on the Sonata. And so what I realized was, if you put it in 4 wheel drive for auto, you don't have as much tire spin. So that's what I usually drive in. And I know typically that people are like, you shouldn't drive like that all the time unless you have to, because what happens is, uh, essentially 4 wheel drive or 4 auto is like the sport version of a truck. So if you put it into 2 wheel drive, and it's always the rear wheel drive essentially if you put it into 2 wheel drive. So you end up getting more wheel spin because all of the freaking power is going to the back wheels instead of being distributed across the entire drivetrain. And that's the only thing that I probably ever will complain about this truck, is that if you put it in 2 wheel drive, you get a lot of tire spin because, well, at least for me anyways, because I wasn't used to the V8 power. And so you get a lot of tire spin, and essentially you are wearing your tires out because it's not being distributed even. So I always put it in 4 auto because I wanted to at least distribute the tire wear evenly. And well, technically, you don't have to, because you can just rotate your tires, put the front 2 in the back, and then get new ones for the front, and then yada yada yada. Or put the back 2 in the front and get new tires for the back. I don't know why I said it backwards. Because usually I'm used to driving front wheel drive cars, not rear wheel drive cars. But that is essentially where I'm at with the Ram. And obviously, I don't know if you can see the speedometer, but I actually need gas. So I'll probably get gas after I get done with the gym. But I typically don't go too fast in it. And the funny thing about it is, in those curves that I was just on, I could probably, on the Miata, I could probably stay 50, 60, and the curves are usually like you have to go 35 miles an hour. That's what they are listed at, right? But in the truck, hey, RST Suburban, those things are ridiculous. RST Suburban, and then they also have a V Blackwing Escalades. Like, who needs that much power in a freaking third row SUV? But that's besides the point. I actually seen people, like, I've watched videos, I've never seen it in person, but people doing like 1,000 horsepower on a Explorer ST, and I'm like, how do they even get that? Like, it's a little, 3.5 liter twin turbo engine. Like, obviously you increase the turbo size, put new headers on it, you do a tune, essentially you could get up there if you wanted to. So it's possible, but probably takes a little bit more than what I just mentioned. But it's definitely possible. So let's see, what was I about to say? Oh, you can typically stay around 50, 60 in the Miata going on those curves going 35 miles an hour, and which doesn't seem like a lot, but the Miata center of gravity, because it has such a perfect balance, I can essentially go in those do those curves at 60 miles an hour because there's not much body roll, and I can stay inside the lane. And I always thought to myself, well, if I can do that in the Miata, it's going to be a lot harder to do it in a bigger vehicle. And then I got the truck. And the thing about four-wheel drive, I don't know how, like, all-wheel drive, I have another car that has all-wheel drive, but four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive are similar, but they're different at the same time, because four-wheel drive, every single wheel essentially has rotation at a different, where the front and the back have rotation at different intervals, essentially, because they're independent drivetrains, essentially, versus all-wheel drive, everything's kind of going at the same time. You gonna let me go? Maybe. Oh no. I thought this person was slowing down and the light was gonna turn green, but it didn't. So I'll just go with right here. But I thought with the truck it would be a little bit different. But going at it in four-wheel drive, I can actually get pretty good speed. I could have just parked right there. Pretty good speed out of the truck on those same curves. Probably not 50, 60, but at least 45, maybe getting closer to 50. But that's essentially where I'm at. The best thing about this dang truck is the freaking how big the screen is. Like, yeah. All right. Well, I'll see you guys after the gym. See what happens. So I was at the gym talking to somebody, and turns out this particular person has a 3000 GT Mitsubishi, and we're going to do an interview on his story behind the car, and also what he likes the most about the car, what he's done to the car, and why he ended up getting the car. Like, what was it that drove him to get the 3000 GT? So that's going to be, he also has a WRX, so maybe he has an STI. I know he has a Subi. It's probably here somewhere. But I figured that's probably going to be the next video. So let's be done. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate you guys. Peace. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, though. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. There we go.